Have you had a lot of back and forth with Fisher himself, or does he always send someone else?
Well, I've only had one meeting with John Fisher, and then that infamous phone call. Where
one meeting ever from someone who says he is doing everything he can for 20 years or whatever it's been to keep the team
It was
here.
all the way in the beginning.
We are ready to bring on our next guest on FT right now. The mayor of Oakland, Sheng Thao, is joining us. Sheng, it's so great to meet you in person. How are you?
Good.
Love to shake your hand.
Yes, it's been amazing.
What do you think of this event, first of all?
Holy smokes. I mean, I think it's way better than anything that John Fisher could do. I mean, that's my first take. The energy is amazing. I mean, there is nothing like Oakland fans, period, right? I mean, you can live anywhere, but if you're a diehard fan for the A's, the B's, the roots, the soul, but it's just amazing.
The turnout is incredible. I mean, there are thousands of people here. Of course, the picture perfect weather day, all of the local businesses and all of the support from the teams, like you mentioned, that are here that want to communicate with fans, all makes me wonder, why are they going through this? So let's start there. Big picture, why do you think this is happening?
I ask myself that all the time, the why, right? I mean, John Fisher's family, they have a legacy in the Bay Area, so it can't be that, because wouldn't he want to continue to have that Bay Area legacy?
Sure.
And then the question becomes, okay, is it money? And it's like, yeah, if you move and then maybe you could get more resources, but really we're the 10th largest media area here, marketing area here, which they would actually lose money if they went to Vegas. And so it's all just very confusing. I don't know if it's like an ego thing or what have you, but again, I've always told people, till the shovel hits the ground, we're going to continue to fight.
And I love that. So the question I'm getting most often from fans, and I told them we were going to have a conversation, is what are the current conversations like? So all of a sudden, here comes John Fisher, tail between his legs, to say, hey, we are moving, but can we still be here for a few years? And most fans are saying, sure, if we are guaranteed either that he sells the team or they get an expansion franchise. Really, like, that is the one card to hold. Why would there ever be a situation where the team would be allowed to kind of profit and thrive for a few more years when they're ditching their fan base? Can you promise fans that unless there's an expansion franchise here, unless Oakland is guaranteed to have a major league franchise, that they can't just use the ballpark for a few more years?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, I'm actually a DV survivor, domestic violence survivor, right? And this sounds very abusive, right? And there has to be a point in time where you just got to cut the cancer. And that's exactly my position. My position is that we keep the A's branding and name, and we get an expansion team. I mean, it's good for not just the city of Oakland and for the Oakland A's brand, and but it's great for MLB and for all the owners. They all make money off of it.
Yeah.
And then not just that, but then the fan continues to have a strong fan base here. Vegas should have their team with John Fisher. But that is exactly right. If they want to continue to play a couple of more seasons here, then we're going to actually have some promises that need to be made.
Can you take me inside the conversation that you had with the commissioner of Major League Baseball?
Yeah, so I flew out to Seattle during All-Star season. I didn't want to take away from the All-Star, so we kept it really quiet. Met with the commissioner. He was quite honestly pretty surprised at how far we really were. So that showed me that John Fisher was actually not very honest with the owners or the commissioner about how close we were to building out a stadium. Mind you, to this very day, we have two very, very possible sites, strong sites, right? It could be the Coliseum, where it's CEQA cleared already, or Howard Terminal, which we jumped through all the hoops. And so, I thought it was a very positive conversation, but obviously at the end of the day, the commissioner, he worked for many bosses. Yeah. And one of those bosses is John Fisher.
Mm-hmm. Was he nice to you? Was he compassionate about the situation? Because often he's had some missteps publicly, including lately, where he kind of said, well, there's still another team in the Bay Area. Yeah. And we all know how sports work. Fans don't just hop on to the team that they don't like suddenly. Right. I mean, I do a show every day with a White Sox legend, A.J. Pierzynski. He's not a Cubs guy. If the White Sox left, he's not just going to embrace the Cubs. That's not how sports work.
That's absolutely right. In that meeting, he was very professional. I don't think that there was a lot of sympathy or empathy, but it was just like very business-like and professional, which I appreciate that he took the meeting to listen. And, he had his attorney there. So we went through all their questions, answered any question they have or had. And then so we were just hopeful that they would pass along that information to the other owners.
And what about conversations that you've had with either John Fisher or Dave Kaval? Like, have you had a lot of back and forth with Fisher himself, or does he always send someone else?
Well, I've only had one meeting with John Fisher, and then that infamous phone call. Where
one meeting ever from someone who says he is doing everything he can for 20 years or whatever it's been to keep the team.
It was
here.
all the way in the beginning, when I got into office, and I said, look, I don't want to waste your time, and don't waste my time. Like, do you want a stadium here? Because if you do, I can get that. I know how to work with people, to strategize, to make it happen. And he said, absolutely. And so, I'm a really straightforward person. And I took him on his word. And the next time I spoke to him was that phone call where he said, we're going to 100% focus on Las Vegas, when we were this close to getting a deal. And so to me, that's, that goes beyond anything that, any sort of respect that I have for whether it's the team or how I operate. I felt like he really deceived this whole time, where I had so many city workers working on this plan. Like, don't waste our time. We have a whole city to run. And so with that being said, that phone call where he said we're focusing only on Las Vegas, I told him, this is very disappointing. And we were very close to a deal. But I guess good luck in Las Vegas, because I know that John Fisher is going to do John Fisher things, right? And
I feel bad for Vegas.
Right. I feel bad for Vegas.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a baseball guy. I worked at the league network for a long time. I care about the game, right?
Yeah.
And I've told people, this is not an Oakland problem. This is a baseball problem, because until an ownership group like this is out of our sport, it does a lot of damage to a great game that impacts many communities in a positive way.
No, that's absolutely right. I think that a lot of the owners of the team, they just see this as like part of their portfolio for financial gains. And that's so not it. I mean, look at this. This is like generations upon generations. It's culture, it's built into the social fabric. And so to your point, you can't just jump on a different bandwagon and be like, oh, now we're rooting for the opposite team across the bay. No, it's that kind of like, the East Bay versus San Francisco. That's the kind of energy that we have. And who would want to leave Oakland? Look at this. I mean, this is a guaranteed fan base that goes all out. You have the reverse boycott, which the seats, oh my gosh, how many, over 30,000 seats sold. I mean, that's the kind of fan base you have here. Die-hard, loyal fans. Why would you leave them?
Have you spoken to anyone else in this area who has the means to buy the franchise? I know Joe Lacob has been public, but also a little bit careful, because it is such a fraternity of owners. So you don't want to like piss off a group that he's hoping he can somehow eventually be a part of, or at least that's the perception I get. And there could be others as well. But is there any hope that someone could step in at some point? Like, hey, let's say they botch the situation in Vegas and can't even get a ballpark up, and eventually he finally quits on this whole ordeal. Like, are there people that can step in and buy the team?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My whole thought, and I've directed my staff, I said, envision a world where MLB says, all right, John Fisher is selling the team. Oakland, you have 24 hours to come up with the buyer. And so I was like, that's your frame of mind, right? Go out and get line up the possible buyers, not just one, not just two. Get me like 5 possible lanes with priority lists, right? And so that we can start making those calls or what have you. So every single day we're talking to people. We're seeing who's interested. We're seeing who's viable. I only want to speak with people who are viable,
sure.
Because like, I think the fans deserve this. And so we're ready. We're ready for, Oakland, here in Oakland, California. We are a major league city.
So I don't know how much you know about, the history of what went down with San Jose, for example. Mm-hmm. Is that a viable alternative in the past? Like, I know that the Giants have the territorial rights, and sometimes we act like all of these things are like set in stone. Like It was made 2,000 years ago and we cannot do this. Like, I know they had an exchange there, but like, can a city like that hold a team if, MLB was like, well, we can't make it work here. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't totally understand how all of that worked in the past, but the fact that like San Francisco can block another team from being in certain areas doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
You know, I'm not well versed in that either, but
Okay.
that is the historical aspect of it. But I can tell you this, is that if any other Bay Area city is trying to fight for an MLB team, they're not going to go easily, because I
Yeah.
will stand up and I will fight, because I do believe that Oakland stands first in regards to an expansion team. You know, it's not what we deserve, but it's also on top of what we deserve. It's also what's right. Right, do right by the city. You know, there's this like false narrative that nothing could get done in the city. Guess what? We have the Oakland Ballers, and they're already going to be playing at Ramondi Park. You know, we have the Oakland Roots and the Soul, and guess what? We're already getting them a permanent stadium. I can't speak on previous administration prior to my leadership, but under my leadership, we make this a priority, because I always do it for the people and for the community.
So MLB is big on promoting having more African Americans playing the sport, loving the sport. This is one of the most diverse cities in the country. For me and for many fans, they have a hard time hearing about initiatives that they're trying to accomplish, right? Because sometimes the game can be too expensive. How do you comprehend that when you have a city that is so diverse and they're taking the game away? And you know that,
Yeah.
I mean, the best way to fall in love with baseball and to have baseball fans is for them to be A, playing, and B, to have a team in the area.
Yeah.
So do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
you're leaving one city that is full of diversity and going somewhere else. How does that impact this city?
You know, it's quite honestly, I feel like it's pretty disgusting, in the sense that, you know, the MLB is saying that they want to diversify their fan base, right? This is the most diverse you're gonna get, right? I mean, Oakland, to your point, I mean, we have so many, over 100 languages spoken here in the city of Oakland, and that's not even including the whole East Bay, right? East Bay, they're going to fight for the Oakland A's, right? And so, with that being said, I can tell you that my first game as a single mom, you know, I was homeless. I lived in my car with my son, and we escaped domestic violence. And so, with that being said, my first game was the Oakland A's game. It was affordable, and I still have that jersey. I wore that jersey to the reverse boycott and got a lot of shit for it. They were like, that is the wrong color green. And I was like, excuse me, this is what I was able to afford.
Yeah.
This is my first jersey.
That jersey has history.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so so that was funny, but that's the whole point. It's like, that's why I'm fighting so hard. It's something that I was able to give to my son, a moment of happiness when I didn't have a lot to give. And so when you starve the team and then jack up the prices for the tickets, you're only hurting the fans, because, you know, I mean, you're being strategic about starving a team so that you can use that as a reason to move. You up the pricing on the tickets as a strategy so that you can say there are no fans to come and watch the game.
Yeah, they're quitting on their fans on purpose.
Yes.
We all know it.
It's
People
disgusting.
aren't stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
and that's the disgusting part about it, is that they think that we're so dumb that we can't put one on one together. And you know, it's not okay. It's not okay. I refuse to be bullied.
The one other thing I'll point out, I don't know, you know, if you've become aware of this, but John Fisher has become kind of like the evil front man for the rest of the league, right? We have a great sport, and major league teams being in cities means something. It has a major impact on a community in a variety of ways. We all know that. But what's happening right now in our sport is many other owners are going to their cities and kind of holding them up, holding them hostage for tons of money, and basically to dictate the terms of a contract either for a new ballpark or most of the time just to renovate their own place that they profit off of. And I do feel like John Fisher has become the front man, because for a while they would say, do this or else. But they'd be like, or else what? What, are you going to leave? And now they go, do this or else we'll do what Fisher did to Oakland. So that's the one part that pisses me off, because I'm like, there's so many, you know, billionaires who have either made a lot of money or they've inherited a lot of money, and they say they're so charitable and they care about the community, but then they're supporting someone who is doing so much damage to a fan base and to a city.
You know, and that's absolutely right. But what I feel like the Oakland A's fans here with the 68s and other fans is that we're also showing them, like, okay, if you're going to do what John Fisher does, guess what? We have a solution to that. We have our own formula on how we're going to combat that, right? And you know what? The Oakland Bees is a perfect example of that too. And so I do think that this is the beginning of a whole conversation about how MLB is run and how we can make sure that professional sports in the United States, that they have a stronger stake in the community, right? I mean, we see that soccer, when it played across country, like their fan base has stake in the game, so it's not like they could just pick up and go.
Yes.
And so I think that although this is hurtful in a lot of ways. I think that this is the beginning of a new way of doing things around sports, and how it's just not someone's portfolio. It's more about, the community and the fans.
We need to relook at how we're doing this process,
That's right.
Okay, so last one, I know you got to jump. So we have a national audience, and they always just want to know, like, not how can we help, because there's not really anything they can do, but just to give them a perspective from a national view of, how they can make an impact. I guess voting for people that speak like you, that's probably the best way to put it, right? Like, make sure that people are being real with you and that they are taking care of your community and holding these owners accountable, that they are going to be in your city and not leave or not hold you hostage for tax dollars. So like, what can you tell other people outside of the city of Oakland?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is incredibly important to, again, vote locally and understand what people's values are. Like, are they going off of values, or are they trying to just get to the next political stage in their life?
Yeah.
And not just that, but what people can do right now is donate to schools over stadiums.
No, that's important, because people do want to know. They're like, I'll buy shirts, I'll do whatever. So schools over stadiums is the initiative.
The referendum in Las Vegas.
Yes.
To block the Las Vegas, from building to giving the tax dollars to John Fisher so that he can build out this stadium.
To give it to the education.
That's right.
That needs it out there instead, right?
Right. I mean, Las Vegas, they even said it themselves, and they need way more support in their education arena, and to use tax dollars to go fund this billionaire stadium, like, that's not okay. It's not cool. And so what folks can do is help fund that initiative. And again, it's the Las Vegas initiative. It's schools over stadium.
Have you spoken to anyone there, by the way? Do you know anything about that group? Like, do they have a chance?
Oh, they have a chance.
They do?
Yes,
okay.
I stay in pretty close communication with them. There's they've been out here doing fundraising as well. And I can tell you, I have joined one of the fundraisers as a special guest so that we could get more money.
Okay. They have our support, our fan base's support.
Yes.
It was so awesome to meet you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do. You're a star.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.